I was around 9 or 10 years old when this happened, but I clearly remembered pretty much everything that happened. So this happened at school. It was lunch break, which lasted 2 hours, and I was with a friend group, and we were playing like pretty much everyone else. But we started to notice people in front of the school, and when I mean people, I mean around 20. Usually there wasn't anyone, or they were just walking by. They all had phones in their hands. A woman specifically approached the entrance of the school, and she just started taking pictures of every kid she saw. We could tell to the flash. An adult of the school went to see her and told her to stop, but she didn't. Instead, she just smiled terrifyingly at him and said something I didn't hear, but it looked kinda like when a mother comforts you in a "it's gonna be okay" way. So we started to get mad because, well, taking children in photo like that is weird as heck. Eventually, she went away. But that didn't really change anything if you want my opinion, because everyone else in front of the school was taking pictures of us. Everyone literally. I especially remember a guy that was pretending to call, except that he didn't talk, and he also had this flash on, so we quickly understood he was also taking pictures. Us kids thought it was fun and a sort of game, so we started playing hide and seek with them, being like, he flashed me, I'm gonna die," or something stupid like that. But we really started to understand there was a real problem when one of them tried to open the entrance. That was kinda useless since there were barriers and they weren't high enough, so if he wanted to get in, he could just climb it up a little. That's when the headmaster totally got mad and went to see everyone, yelled at them for around 10 minutes, called the police, and when she calmed down, she asked to explain to someone why they were doing that. The headmaster told us herself that all these people pretended to be some sort of voodoos, and that they could sell pictures of us, make us suffer, etc. To be honest, everyone mostly laughed, but adults didn't seem amused at all. To this day, I still don't know if what she said was true. I don't know if some people were arrested. I don't know what the pictures became. The thing I remember the most is just that woman's smile. That absolutely creeped me out. Today, I'm scared of being taken in photos even by friends. And when it's family members or very close friends, I'm just really uncomfortable. I was on my way home from Arby's with a mint chocolate shake. Zoned out for a sec and almost didn't notice someone's car. I tried just letting him through, but he insisted I go on ahead. I didn't think much of it and just continued on walking. He drove on ahead and parked his car near some apartments. He had on a black polo shirt, so I assumed he was just dropping something off for a job or something. As I kept walking, he approached me and offered me a $20 bill. I asked him why, but couldn't understand what he said in response. Refused since I know what's best for me. However, that didn't deter him. He grabbed my waist and I stepped to the side. He then started pulling me towards his car. I put his hand so he wouldn't silence me and made sure to scream as loud as possible to try and attract any bystanders if I could. He managed to get me into his car, and just before he could close it, I stuck my foot through the door and to keep it open. I then got out and made myself go limp since adding dead weight without warning creates sudden resistance and makes it harder for them to grasp you. Due to this quick thinking, I was able to get away unharmed, and I quickly booked it and got on the phone with my mom once I was at a safe distance. I made sure to stay on the phone until I got back. After that, I had taken some time to calm down and wait for the cops to get there to get my statement. The officers ending up praising my quick thinking, telling me that I had luckily done everything right in this situation. Never accept money from strangers. While there are good Samaritans, there's also people who don't have their best interests in mind. If you think they have good intentions, make sure to double check by asking why they're offering you anything. If you don't get a good legitimate reason, then make sure you refuse. If you refuse and they're still persistent, then get away immediately. I'll preface this by saying that we were either 12 or 13 at the time, and my friend and I often snuck out of either of our houses during sleepovers for late night walks. This was the basis of this terrifying encounter, and it stopped us from ever sneaking out after dark again. My friend lived opposite of a huge forest, so her house was the preferred choice to sneak out for us to roam around at night. We always took our flashlights, food, and blankets so we could camp out for a couple of hours before going back home again. Well, on this faithful night, we inadvertently fell asleep instead of staying awake, so when my friend suddenly jolted me from sleep, it was past 3 a.m., a lot later than we usually snuck out. We grabbed our essentials and creeped out of the back door and into the cold and dark night. Frost crunched underfoot as we crossed the deserted road, and as we reached the entrance to the forest, we noticed how pitch black and completely silent it was. Unnervingly so, we turned on our torches and stepped into the uneven path into the forest, the light illuminating the trees swaying in the icy wind. We stepped on fallen sodden leaves and bark as we made an unsteady but familiar way into our favorite part of the forest, our cold breath the only noise to invade the deafening silence. We reached the small hut we constructed one afternoon, made entirely of sticks, purely for the purpose of us having some sort of shelter during our campouts. There were times that vandals or other kids damaged our hut, but for the most part it stayed intact. But on this occasion, it was completely destroyed, like a harbinger of worse to come. We were just deciding to call it a night and come back later that day to repair, when we just heard it. This loud shrieking giggle that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. My friend and I jumped in shock and looked at each other like, what the heck? We were completely freaked out. The eerie and unnatural giggle rang out again, contradicting the silence and making my body break out in goosebumps. Someone is in here, my friend whispered to me, looking utterly terrified. We have to go, now. Her voice of rationale made it even more scary and unnerving to me that someone was in the forest with us at 3 o'clock in the morning. We just looked at each other in assent and took off running in unison, our footsteps navigating the path as naturally as we could from muscle memory, our uneven gasps of air punctuating the giggles that seemed to be following us, getting closer and closer. Our torch's light went up and down with our fast movements, illuminating random patches of trees and bushes as we finally saw a small silver of light as we came to the forest entrance. Running out of the forest, we didn't stop until we reached the back door of my friend's house and almost collapsed in a breathless heap of relief to be safe. Then, my friend's eyes went wide as she nudged me, pointing a shaky finger across the road. A haggard woman of intermittent age was standing at the forest entrance, giggling that horrible giggle and waving towards us. We screamed and ran inside, looked out my friend's bedroom window through the smallest gap in the curtain, and we could still see the woman standing there. Worst yet, she was staring right at us as if she knew we were there. We could tell she was still giggling that hideous, appalling laugh. She turned very slowly and walked back into the forest again. We never went back to that forest, nor went out after dark again.